Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Israel Connection. I'm Esti Zenati, and my guest today is Abraham Hamra. He is a Syrian Jewish ex-refugee. He's an attorney, activist, and influential voice for the Sephardic and Mizrahi Jewish communities. As a child, he fled Damascus with his family in the early 90s as one of the last Jewish refugees from Syria. Years later, he built a successful legal career in New York, where he now serves as the managing partner and chief growth officer at the immigration firm Cohen, Tucker, and Aids. Beyond the courtroom, he has become a powerhouse in digital advocacy, using his fluency in Hebrew, Arabic, and English to bridge cultural divides, combat antisemitism, and challenge global misconceptions about Jewish identity and the Middle Eastern history. Abraham, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you and hopefully learn from you and educate others.
Yes, hopefully. So you were born in Damascus, and
Yes.
you lived there until you were about 7 years old?
Yes. 7, 8 years old, 1994, my family finally left Damascus, Syria.
So do you have any memories from the time? Like, what was it like for you living there?
So I do.
Kid?
Yeah, I do. So I was born in 88. Prior to 1992, Jews were not allowed to immigrate out of the country. We were held pretty much as hostages to the Assad regime and played with as political pawns against the state of Israel. And that was the intention about freezing immigration. There were 4,000 or 5,000 Jews maybe remaining at that time. My first, we lived in the Jewish quarter in Damascus. We had our synagogues. We'd walk to shul on Shabbats. Like we had a nice community there, but we also faced a lot of anti-Semitic, that word, a lot of anti-Semitic behavior. I'm gonna just keep it simple before we get crazy about it. And a lot of anti-Semitic sentiments coming from our neighbors. What many people don't know and haven't realized is after 1948, Khaled al-Azim, who was the prime minister of Syria, told the Arabs to leave Israel so that they can attack Israel, the newly created state. A lot of them came into Syria. Now, at the same time, about 30,000 Jews left Syria. So there were all these empty homes in the Jewish quarter. These Arabs that came from Israel, guess whose homes they occupied and took free of charge? The Jewish homes in the Jewish quarter, and that was intentional. The others were put in refugee camps outside of the Jewish quarters, and the government knew what it was doing. These people are angry. They're angry at Jews. Here are Jews. Let's take it out on them. And that's the biggest portion of the population that really bothered us and interfered with our way of life and committed violence against us was the population that called themselves Palestinians that lived within Syria, sanctioned, of course, by the government. And my first clear memory was when I was about 3, 4 years old. I was playing outside in my grandfather's hosh, which is like a garden in the Jewish quarter. You walk in, it's a huge garden in the middle. There's houses around, and my grandfather's house was like right in the center. So we would hang outside. I used to play with the stray cats. My grandma used to yell at me to close the fridge, close the door before the cats come in and eat the meat. And so, minding my own business, a little child, a Palestinian mother and her son approach me. The mother instructs her son to pick up a stone and to launch it straight at my head. He does that. I start gushing blood, obviously. My mother sees me, has half a heart attack, is, outraged, runs to the Mukhabarat, which was the police force that was placed in our community, and their design was to protect the Jews, but instead they spied on the Jews. And if you say Mukhabarat to anybody from the Arab country, they'll hide under a table immediately. This is not a pleasant force. So they came with my mother to see me and see the perpetrator. Literally did nothing. Looked at the Palestinian mother and her son, said, "Did you throw the stone?" They said, "Yeah." "So what?" "Shefet Yehudi." That's what they used to call us in Syria, a piece of Jew. The cop basically doesn't arrest, doesn't have any sorts of justice. Goes,
Nothing has
okay,
changed.
it's really not a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
Don't do it again. Okay. No justice. Everybody goes on their way. So that's my, I would say my first vivid memory of an anti-Semitic attack. But other than that, we lived on our own. We went to Ladiyeh, which is Latkia, I believe, for the summers. Like we try to enjoy, we try to be part of the Syrian life, Syrian identity, and always as Jews, because we were constrained in our community.
Yeah. What was the experience like of you guys getting out of there and coming to the US, I assume for the first time, and integrating into the American society?
So I'll tell you, it was really interesting because in 1992 is when Jews were finally allowed to leave the country. My grandmother and my mother's family left on one of the first planes out. And so our plan was to follow them right after. Assad changed his mind in 1993 and stopped immigration again. And so now the community was further divided. There was so much stress, so much worry, and being, frightened about whether or not you're going to meet or go and ever see again your other half of the family. Like, that's it. Are you restuck in Syria? Until Assad changed his mind again in 94, flights were open. We jumped on a plane. I can tell you, I remember vividly how excited I was to go to the United States. Not because I knew what the United States stood for, what it was, but my aunt was there, right? My grandpa, my grandma, who I haven't seen in 2 years, who I haven't really spoken to in 2 years, they're there. And so I vividly remember me just like running up and down the airplane on the way here, just like getting so excited to see and to meet my family, re-meet my family here.
And then like growing up in the US and, being with Americans and going to school and doing all of that, what was that like for you? Because the culture obviously is very different.
Culture was very different. When I got here, I didn't speak a word of English. So luckily, and thank God for this, the Syrian Jewish community stepped up. They stepped up in a very, very big way. They understood and saw the logistical nightmares, right, of thousands of people from your community, Jews from Syria, just like your grandpa and grandma were, right? Like for the Syrians already here, now going to enter into an American Syrian Jewish community. How do we train the children so that they can communicate with each other? How do we teach them English? How do we set up programs? How do we set up help, Hayas, and so many different organizations that stepped up at the time to help ease our transition into America. And I thank the community, and I have such hakarat tov for everybody in the community that did set up all these systems for us to integrate. But I was a kid, so like immediately the first thing I wanted was to be American, was to feel like not a boat. If anybody doesn't know what a boat is, off the boat, like I wanted it. So I studied so hard and I practiced. How do I get rid of my accent? How do I become more American? Like all the typical immigrant BS, right? Like that's what I went
you
through.
wanted to belong, I guess.
I wanted to fit in. I wanted to fit in when I first arrived. Absolutely. And I thought I did, right? And I thought this culture was perfect and everybody loved us and this is a safe place and nobody cares about my kippah, nobody cares about my tzitzit. Actually, the opposite. I'd get love for being a Jew in America. It was such a new experience. And these ideas of equality, it was amazing. And I integrated, I would say, fine with the community when I got to this country.
And how all of this experience and the resiliency of your parents and going through all that, as a refugee, how did that shape who you were and then, make your decision to pursue law and specifically immigration?
Yeah. So I decided to pursue law. To be, to not anticlimax this entire this plot, because I see, but I'm an honest person. I'm not here to draw imaginative stories. So the reality is I was focused on one thing and one thing only in school, right? And that was my success as an immigrant, understanding and seeing our life and how we were living now in America, right? Like my dad came here with 4 children, no money, no anything. And it's a struggle, right? It's a hustle. It's sharing a bedroom with 4 of your brothers and sisters and, no vacation. And so your whole life, your whole attitude and perspective, at least the way my father framed my attitude and my perception is, how do I make it? How do I take the next step in the ladder? How do I take advantage advantage of the privileges that this country offered me. And so like my dad and my mom, but more my dad would always, would be sitting and talking. He'd be like, you have no idea how lucky you are. And this is throughout high school. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Why am I lucky, Dad? Like my friends have Mercedes. Yeah, it was like, you're so lucky because you speak English fluently. You can write English fluently. Do you know how much sales I would make in this country if I knew how to, and so it was always from that perspective of I'm privileged, even though in today's American language, I'd be the unprivileged, marginal, like whatever. But in reality, I always looked at myself. And so when I went to school, the goal was, how do I improve my life situation? How do I, bring my family up to the next step, to the next rung on the ladder? And so I decided I actually was studying to become a doctor before I was a lawyer.
The doctor or the lawyer situation.
Because my mom, my family on my mother's side, all doctors. So she's like, you're going to be a doctor. And I think I disappointed her. I remember I called her. I'm like, Mom, I'm sorry, but
really?
I think law's my calling. She's like, but why, my son?
I think a lot of parents can talk to her about this and be like, you need to go to doctor.
You need to be doctor. Why you need to be lawyer? This is stupid. I'm like, listen, I think this is something I really enjoy. And then the first time I really crawled back on my experience as an immigrant as it relates to law was really when I was challenged from law school on the application. And it was, why do you want to be a lawyer? And so I actually had to think about it, right? I couldn't just write, because I want to make money. It just would not be admitted to the school.
Not a good enough reason.
And I was thinking about it. I started researching, like, what does it mean? What do lawyers do? Like, really, I'm just trying to get a sense of things. And then I'm like, you know what? I know why I want to be a lawyer. Because all the things that brought me here to this point, my appreciation is to this country and to the laws that make this country great. And so I remember vividly writing in my essay about my experience leaving Syria, penning it down, saying, how surprised I was to leave an oppressive country where you couldn't wear your yarmulke wherever the hell you wanted. If you walked on the Palestinian side of the street and you're wearing your kippah, you're going to get destroyed. To come to this country that now I can wear a kippah without fear. I can put on my Magen David with pride. Nobody can tell me shit. Sorry if I can use the word shit or not. Nobody can tell me. Nobody can tell me anything. And and how I wanted to continue the system of equality and due process, not just for me, but for other persecuted, other marginalized groups, and to fight for them. Because realistically, nobody fought for us. And just writing and expanding on how I truly treasure this opportunity and this privilege of being an American citizen now and being in America, that I want to protect it for my children. I don't want them to be resettled or reshuffled. And so it was just a big desire for me on that front. Immigration law, coincidence.
Oh, interesting. So what was the first choice?
I started off as a criminal defense attorney. And I loved it. I've done murder trials. I've done
that was
white
interesting,
collar,
like that kind of field.
I'll tell you, my office may hate me if they overhear me saying this, but I think criminal law, to me at least, it's like, it's law. You're going to the court, you're fighting with the prosecutor, there's a jury, there's action, I go to jails, like you have to show my attorney license, you feel like a lawyer, and so that I was going for the field in the beginning. So I started my law firm out of law school immediately. I graduated top 10% of my class.
Wow, nice.
From law school, graduated magna cum laude, and I couldn't get an interview. Not one law firm would interview me. And it was odd because a lot of the people I was tutoring were getting interviews and jobs by the places and the firms that wouldn't even look at me. And because the way my father primed my mind not to look at myself as a victim and not to say, oh, it's because of this or it's because of that. I didn't even think about the reasons why I never got an interview until years later when I had established my own law firm. And I'm like, I get it now. My name, prior to changing it for the ease of the court reporter in the courthouse, so I don't have to do a spelling bee every time I went to and appeared in court, was Abraham Hamra.
Wow.
So
that's a serious name.
It was very serious, and it was a time before being Arab was cool.
Now you'd be a success, huge success with that name.
I'd get a job at every firm in the country now. Immediately, like Ibrahim Hamra, refugee from Syria. Ooh. Come on in. You want a partner opportunity?
Yeah, they'll put posters of you all over the place.
Yeah. But it was before that time, right? And so I'm sure there was an aspect of it that people said, we don't like his name. We don't know who we're getting here. And that was the luckiest moment of my life. Thank God I never got an interview anywhere, because then I called my dad and I'm like, Dad, I have a child. I'm married. I was married at the time. I was married in law school.
Wow.
I was living in my in-laws' basement. I was holding my daughter in my hand, waiting for my bar results. And I'm like, fuck, am I going to pass? Am I going to fail? And I finally, I passed the bar. I got one job offer at the end, right before I started my thing. And the guy was offering me something like 40 grand a year. There's something embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I went to law school. I have a family, and I'm going to give me $35,000, $40,000 a year. I could have done that working at McDonald's. I called my dad and I'm like, I think I'm going to take the job. I don't have a choice. I have a daughter. I have a wife. I have responsibilities. I need to provide. I can't next one. No, I'm going to take it. And so my dad's like, slow down. You're living in your in-laws' basement. Your expenses aren't that crazy. What is it that you really want to do? Is this type of law something that you want to do? And I'm like, no, it's absolutely not the field. It's like landlord-tenant. I have no interest in landlord-tenant.
Oh.
He's like, then do you want to start your own practice? What's the goal? I go, yeah, it's my end goal. He's like, then don't make it an end goal. Make it a starting goal. Just start your own practice, because when you take this $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000, it's $40,000 job, it's going to increase to $50,000, $60,000, and then at 60 grand a year, it's money and you can live. And so and if you're, desire to start your own law firm, the calculation becomes much more expensive. Now I'm letting go of a $60,000 opportunity, plus the investment to start my own law firm. Now the investment seems huge and with something to lose. Right now, you're a goddamn loser. You have nothing. You are nothing. You're nobody. If you fail, big shit. You didn't give up any opportunities. Right. Not like you had a job anyways, right? And so that's what I did. I started my firm. It was a litigation practice, criminal defense. And eventually down the line, an old couple came into my office. They were ripped off by an employer, a really nice couple. They were ripped off by 15 grand. I helped them get their money back with a letter. The Jewish couple, they came in. The guy was so cute. He's like, how much do I owe you? I'm like, dude, I'm not going to take $500 from you. 95. I felt so bad. I'm like, I'm just happy that you guys are. And they were so cute. They would always wear their suit and a dress to come to my office. I'm like, I'm not going to take money. And he felt so good. He's like, no, I want to give you some type of something back, some type of value back. And he's like, I used to be a business consultant. What's your dream? And I told him my dream. My dream is to own a very large law firm, to have power, to really grow, to make money. He's like, would you buy a law firm? I'm like, yeah, of course. It's like, I have an immigration law firm that's up for my friend, a really good friend of mine. He's retiring. His name is Stanley Cohen. One of the first immigration law firms to open in New York City. And he's selling his practice. Would you be interested in speaking with him? I'm like, sure. At the time, I didn't know immigration. I knew nothing about immigration. I didn't even know how to get you a visitor visa if you wanted to come to the United States. And I spoke to him. He liked me. I liked him. I liked his practice. The numbers made sense. I'm not a valuation expert, but I'm not an idiot either. I can see, spreadsheets. I can understand. I can look at people, judge, whatever. It made sense to me. I said, let's make the deal. The lawyer looked at me. He goes, one problem. I go, what's that? He goes, I have 1,000 open cases and you know nothing about immigration. How are you going to buy my practice? Crazy. I'm like, give me a moment. I figured this out. And so down the hall from me was a really nice, amazing attorney who's my partner currently. Her name is Natalia Morozova. and she did exclusively immigration. She was a solo attorney at the time. I walked into her office. I'm like, hey, Natalia, I know I've referred you cases before and you're killing it. Like all my clients that I referred to her were just over the moon. I'm like, I have an opportunity to buy an immigration law firm, but I don't know anything about immigration. You do. How would you like to be my partner in this proposition? And she said, let's do it. And so for a while, I had two law firms. We ended up acquiring another immigration firm, merged it together. So I had my litigation firm in which I was active day to day, and I had the immigration law firm where my partner Natalia was day to day, and I was involved on the back end and business strategy and all of that. Eventually, I sold the litigation firm, and here I am as an immigration attorney.
Wow.
Sorry,
And
that
you
was
had a
very
baby
long.
at home also.
4. By this time,
4.
I have 4.
Well, now, really? Oh my God. Well, now you do 4. Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, we always hear about those people that, you know, they go to school and they have kids while they're at it, and then they do this and that and get a business. And I'm like, just getting dizzy from all that stuff. But kudos to you. Like that's amazing.
It's all from Hashem, Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
It's nothing I did.
Because of your father, that the advice that
it's Hashem. Honestly, and anybody hearing this, I believe that it's all Hashem. When it comes to parnasa, when it comes to money, when it comes to business, Hashem. Like, you can be the smartest person, the hardest working person, and you can be broke. And you can be the dumbest person. Yeah. You barely know how to spell your name. It's me, right? I'm not a genius. And Hashem can bless you with success. And really, to whoever's listening and like, wow, Avi, you did such hard. I didn't do anything. Like, really, I just did I just gave effort. And if it wasn't for Hashem's help, I would be nowhere.
That's something to think about for sure. You know, yeah, it's. I mean, I can tell you as someone who's like been working hard her whole life, and still, it's not like, you know, I'm not where I wanted to be.
No, I get it. I know. I definitely get it. I can tell you about this the Hashem angle. If I can for like 2 minutes, and I won't waste any more of your time on this. But when I was first starting out, I had an opportunity to buy a house with the first money I made, but the mortgage payment, I didn't know how I was going to consistently make it. And my business was slowing down and litigation was slowing down. This is the first I started. I was bugging out. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a proposition with Hashem. I'm going to donate money I don't have. And I donated a little bit, and I said, I went up to both of my partners at the litigation firm. I eventually added them, kicked them out after, but I went up to them and I'm like, guys, we haven't gotten business. And I hope people don't be like, this guy AV is crazy. I'm just gonna unfollow him from the story. But I swear to you, I swear on anything, it's legit. I said, you know what? I'm gonna wear my kippah. I'm gonna put on my kippah when I drink my water, when I have my thing. I'm gonna put on a kippah, and I'm gonna start, you know, turning off my, you know, no longer working on Shabbat. And I made that promise very publicly in front of both of my partners. Both at the time were atheists, complete atheists. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and I promise you that God, Hashem, is going to bless us with business. I swear to you, I don't know how to explain this. By the time I walked from the front of that office to the end of the office, and it was like a 10 by 10, so it's not big, shared by 3 people, to my desk, I get a phone call. I pick up the call. It's downstairs, the security officer. Hi, Abraham. Somebody here with a package for you. I'm like, okay. I go downstairs. I'm like, can I get this package? What's going on? Well, who sent this? I get the package. I open it up. It's a retainer from my law firm, signed with a check attached to it. One problem. I never met this person. I have no idea who the client is. I go upstairs. None of my partners know who this person is. I literally picked up the phone call. I called the number on the retainer, and I'm like, I really appreciate you sending me your business, and I would love to help you, and this is in our wheelhouse. But who are you? Thank you, but who are you? He told me, he's like, you actually, you know, I actually consulted with his uncle 4 months ago or something like that. I left my retainer there unsigned. His uncle never went ahead with me, chose a different lawyer, but I guess thought of me when his nephew got sued, gave him my retainer, said, this is a good lawyer. Nephew didn't even bother consulting with me, nothing, signed the retainer, gave me the check, mailed it. And I looked at my partners and I'm like, how do you explain that?
So
Like,
random.
it wasn't a week of a difference. It was literally, I made the statement, I walked to my desk, I get a phone call, there's a package downstairs. They both looked at me, they're like, coincidence? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could all see it from different angles, but yeah, I mean, there's no explanation really. It's very random. So, what was the moment that you decide I need to be an advocate for Israel and the Jewish people, and I'm going to put myself out there and say what I have to say? And how has it impacted you, like personally and also professionally?
Absolutely. So the first time I spoke out was out in May of 2021. A kid named Joey Borgen was beat down in broad daylight in Times Square, New York, by 5 Palestinian men, or that's what I don't know what their identity was, but they were very pro-Palestinian, Arab, Awaude. They had Arab names. I saw their families when I went to court. I know I'm not being stereotypical. They sent this poor kid into the hospital with serious injuries. They picked up one of the perps. His last name was Awaude, Wasim Awaude. I still remember this behemoth's name, this bastard's name. I am following the case. I'm a lawyer at the time. I'm also like working. I'm driving all the time, and I'm just thinking. I'm getting angrier. All of a sudden, I see that this animal went to court for his arraignment, bragged about what he did in the cells while waiting for arraignment, telling others that he'll do it again, being released on absolutely no bail, right outside of the courthouse, not in his home, not 10 blocks away, right on the door. His friends throw him over their shoulder and celebrate him as a champion for participating in a hate crime gang assault that led a poor child, a Jewish kid, a Jewish young man to the hospital. And I was just so outraged that this would happen, and this system that I loved for very, very long was allowing for these tragedies to take place. And then I heard that the prosecutor was going to give them sweetheart deals. The perpetrators who should have been charged with gang assault, hate crime assault, like so many things, were going to get probation. I snapped. I really did. I don't know if it was like this recall of the injustice I suffered in Syria when I was, attacked and the police did nothing. And I'm like, are we really going to reface this issue here in America where we came for protection? Absolutely effing not. I'm done. I'm speaking out. I didn't have a following. I had like a couple hundred people on my Instagram, mostly from law school and college or whatever. And I just went on my Instagram like, I'm pissed off. And that's like my first video, right? And it took off for me at that time. It was like, whoa, I got 20,000 views. This is insane. Like, and that's when I first started. I started petitions for Joey. I talked about the narrative. I talked about history of Mizrahi Jews, and it became something I did as well. The perpetrators actually ended up, because thanks in large part to a lot of the activists, including Lizzie Savetsky, who championed for Joey Borgen, came to his court case to give her. She was there with me from 2021 at least. In the streets. I'll be very honest. Because of all that activism, these behemoth, these animals, if people don't know what behemoth are, got real sentences, years in prison. Hope for longer, but they got at least 5-6 years, which is something they should have gotten. And I just started there. It didn't really, it was very time consuming, but that was fine. And then October 7th happened, and that was a whole different animal.
That's a different ball game.
Yeah.
Wow. So what happened after October 7th? How did people react to your videos? Because I can tell you personally, I've seen your videos and I love that you get angry and you are yourself. You're very authentic. Let it all out. You don't, try to be nice, which is, it's something I miss sometimes from the Americans. But as an Israeli, the Moroccan Israeli, I need that. I like that.
This is who we are.
Right. So how did people react to it, and did it have any negative impact on your business? Because I heard you in an interview said that You
Yeah.
had some issues
So
with that.
I after October 7th, honestly, I kind of feel guilty saying this a little bit. But I'm going to say it anyways. When I heard of the news on October 7th, before I even went off to shul, I'm like, oh my God, how many people have been killed? What's happening? Like, it was so horrific. We were all devastated. But like the guilty side of me is the thought that popped into my head during that same time. And honestly, because it shouldn't, because they don't matter. What matters is the victims of October 7th. But in my head, I'm like, are these people that I've been fighting? Is this issue that I've been fighting for the last 3 years? Is this going to finally wake up the people to understand the threat that I was fighting against, the evil that I was fighting against? I mean, now that this happened, how could these people not see my fight? I truly, truly, and maybe naively believed that October 7th was going to be a turning point to the positive for the Jewish people, at least as it relates to anti-Semitism in America and around the world. But then what we saw on October 8th, I'm like, this is a joke. This is out of control.
Yeah.
And I just got 10 times angrier. And that was the first time I reintroduced my Arabic language. Because before that, it was never out there. Nobody knew I spoke Arabic. My first video in Arabic, I have really good friends that called me and they're like, I know you were born in Syria. I didn't realize that you actually spoke it this fluently. I'm like, it's my first language. We speak it at home. My mom all day. What are you talking about? And it's part of me is because of that old immigrant that tried to assimilate so much.
Right.
And I think if anything, October 7th really brought me back to both my roots, my Syrian and my Jewish roots, more closer than ever before. Because now I'm like, I don't need to. I enjoy my uniqueness. I enjoy my unique story. It has power. It has its place in this fight, in this movement. It is a necessity that I'm here. I'm happy that I'm here, that I have the ability to expose what many people have never experienced, especially in America and around the Western world, how to live, what it was like living under, oppressive Arab regimes. And so I kind of lost that insecurity to speak Arabic. And that's when my Instagram really started taking off. And my social media really started taking off. In the beginning, I would say the first 3 months after, 2 months, 3 months, we lost a good number of business, a good amount of business, in my immigration law firm. As you can only imagine, half my client base was Yemeni and Arab, and they're great people, and a lot of them, honestly, a lot of them even here were on our side, but there was a lot of extremists who I didn't realize, a lot comes out when you push against somebody's beliefs, right?
Right.
And so we lost a tremendous amount of business because of the backlash, and we didn't really give a shit. We just kept going because even my partner, Natalia, who's amazing, who isn't Jewish, by the way, and my senior associates, all of them were so supportive of me during this time. They put on our front page of the immigration law firm website a big picture of the Israeli flag with saying, we stand with Israel against terrorism, regardless of the cost. Because me and my partner are both immigrants. She's an immigrant of communism, right? Of Eastern Europe, and I'm an immigrant of Syria, of Islamism. And so we both we both understood that the short-term pain is worth it for the long-term gain or the long-term potential gain if we can fight back, effectively against these rise of evil movements. And, I would say again, it's all Hashem. And people were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't care. You guys don't understand how I think. I don't believe that a bunch of anti-Semites can affect my parnasa. I really don't believe it. That's why I speak freely. People are like, you're not scared of being canceled. I'm not scared. I believe in Hashem. I like, it's a very hard statement to make. And I'm not the most religious person, and I'm guilty, and I'm a horrible Jew sometimes. But this is one aspect of my life that I am so bought in on, and because it's true, tried, and tested for me, that it never fazed me. And no matter how much business I can lose, no matter how much people are going to threaten me, if I'm going to make this money, I'm going to make this money. If I'm not going to make it, Hashem has want me to make it. It is what it is. Like I can hit my head against the wall. Nothing is going to happen. The wall's not going to move. And so I just didn't give a shit. And Baruch Hashem, new doors open. And, we're not back to pre-boycott stages, but we're getting there. And, I'm a hard worker. I'm starting a new business now as well on the side to help the yeshiva bills. And that's it. Hashem's going to provide. Hashem's going to make that all right. It's not something that's even on my mind. The risk of losing business. I don't care.
Yeah,
Hashem decides, not these anti-Semites.
I feel like, when people always complain, like throughout this past couple of years, they're like, oh, I'm not speaking up because I'm going to lose followers, I'm going to lose business, I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, yeah, you lose these people that you don't even want to be in business with anyway because they hate you. But then you're going to gain the other people that actually care about you. And I'm like, oh, he's supporting Israel and the Jews, so I'm going to go with him. That's, that's how it is.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. I mean, we're still waiting to see that other one, but perfect. Baruch Hashem.
So, you said you speak Arabic. What are like some interesting conversations you got to have with people who normally would look at you as, their enemy?
A lot. Because it's not the same conversation. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I can, and this is weird. This may turn a lot of people off, and I get it. I can understand a lot of Arabs that are pro-Palestinian. Not from the place that they're right, because I don't believe that they're right. I'm very pro-Israel. But from the place of, could I envision myself actively and loudly standing against my own people? And this is something from a cultural background, right? Like as a Syrian Jew. It's something that's Syrians were embedded, like there's a sense of loyalty to each other. So I never take it super personally in this way, these conversations. Like there's somebody who's been outed by Canary as a major anti-Semite in New York City, horrible piece of shit. And he knows I think he's a piece of shit. But we still have conversations. No problem. I even invited him for a hookah. I said, come, I'll embarrass you over a hookah. I don't care because I have the truth. So I'm not trying to isolate, but to really push my true argument. The most interesting conversation I had, and I think that was very eye-opening to me, was the perception of Arabs, of Jews, and why they had that perception that they didn't believe this land was their land. And they all cite to, because this is what they're being fed, the story in of King Solomon's, believe it or not. And they tell you King Solomon had a case, and he needed to decide who the mother of this child was. Two moms came, one child. Each mom said, this is mine. The other mom said, no, that's mine. Both were fighting over the child. King Solomon said, I have a solution for this. Let's cut the baby in half. We'll give you half a baby. We'll give you half a baby. This way, both is equal. The true mother, who ended up being revealed as the true mother, said, no, take the entire baby. The mother, who wasn't the true mother, said, cut the baby in half. And so they utilize this story, and they go, you guys are willing to give up Hebron. You're willing to give up the Shomron. You're willing to give up this. You're willing to give up that. You're willing to give up your land. It means it's not really yours. Because had you truly believed it's yours, you would never give it up. You would never offer any inch of a land. And they don't understand compromise because that's how it is over there. If this is fucking mine, sorry again, if this is mine, it's mine. I'm not giving it to you so you don't attack me. If you attack me trying to take it, I'm going to make sure you never see the daylight again. That's just how that's how our mentality works. Mine as well, by the way. And so when I speak with force, I'm like, I don't believe in a two-state solution. You guys out of your minds? I'm not willing to give you even an inch for a state of Palestine within Israel. There's respect almost immediately because they go, okay, let's have nitty-gritty conversations. We move on to the next step. But if they see an opening where they can start playing with your insecurities, right? They'll take advantage of that. right? So if I tell them, yeah, I want two-state solution, I believe, equality needs to be given to the West Bank, and listen, I believe that should be a Palestinian state, but the Palestinians don't want it. We've offered peace. They look at me, they're like, you never offered peace. We never asked for half of the state of Israel. We want all of it. And so there's this level of disrespect from the Arabs to people who want two-state solutions. And I think what they're not realizing is that they're pushing away a prospect for peace rather than bringing it closer. Because had I said, you know what, not only am I not going to do two-state solution, I'm going to annex the land. It's going to be mine. I'm going to do this. And you start acting like the environment that's around you, but in a more moral way, you're going to be closer to achieving peace because people understand you mean business, your power. You're not waffling between human rights of terrorists. Like, this is the Middle East, baby. Like, let's get to it. Like, we're not.
So what's like the solution? How would you make them understand that, like to see the truth, the actual facts that about the Middle East, about Israel, about all of this situation?
To who? Who would I make understand?
To the Arabs, because they view things differently. So how would you make them realize that
they're full of shit?
Yeah.
I first exposed that they're full of shit. I've debated many people who consider themselves Palestinian. There was one guy I posted on my Instagram. He's like, I'm Palestinian. I'm like, no, you're not, you fucking liar. There's never such a thing as a Palestine. He goes, I'm living here now. I'm like, no, you're not. You're living within Israel. What? I live in Nahariya. I'm like, Nahariya is Israel proper anyways. I'm like, you know what? Let me ask you a question. I'm like, I'm going to expose how full of shit you are right now. And this is posted, by the way. He goes, what? I go, right now, would you rather live under a Palestinian Arab government or under an Israeli Jewish government? He starts laughing. I go, why are you laughing? I'm asking you again, who would you rather live under? I'm like, you want to fight for civil rights? Sure. You want to say I want Arabs to be treated more equally because this law doesn't treat me equally, and I believe that if it's changed to B, it's going to help the equality of this minority group. Fine, that's a legitimate argument. That's a legitimate fight to have. But to tell me the state doesn't even need to exist, it's not real because you don't even believe in it. You're saying it because it's the regurgitated bullshit that you've been fed. And then we have real arguments of like, let's talk about it. Let's really have this conversation. How are the people in Syria living? Like shit. How are the people in Lebanon living? Most of half, but like shit. What about Yemen? What about Saudi Arabia? What about even Saudi Arabia? Majority of the people. What about Iraq? What about all these lovely lands? Jordan that was created at the same time of Israel. They're all living like shit. Forget rights. Millions of their people are refugees throughout the world.
Yeah.
That's a truth because of the corruption that runs deep within Arab governing and Arab governments. And you want to come here wanting another Arab state? You're an idiot. No, there was Palestine. We need to go back. When was there Palestine? I call them out to it and I push them to it. And once they finally admit, yeah, but there are people here that needed a state also, and that's what the Palestine mind. I go, okay, fine. Are you willing to give a Jewish state in Syria? What about a Jewish state in Iraq? You want to cut it up? Because 35% of Baghdad was Jewish before we were ethnically cleansed in 1941. Do you want to give us a sliver of Baghdad for Jewish land? Call it Iraq Jew? I mean, like, why not? If every individual that lived on a piece of land deserved their own state, then supposedly a Jewish state in Yemen must be created. A Jewish state in Iraq must be created. Syria, Lebanon. Let's create. What about the Yazid? What about the Yazidis? What about the Kurds? What about so many other Middle Eastern minority groups? None of them get the entitlement of having their own land. None of them. But you, the majority, the super majority in this region, who are now playing a victim and minority rights. You deserve an extra land. You deserve a 23rd state. Why? Why? I'm not buying into your supremacy. I push back against it. You don't deserve a land in Israel. It's all Israel. And they actually respect that.
That's very interesting. I mean, I think like these people that specifically the ones that live in Israel, and hold an Israeli citizenship and work and go to school and all stuff. They enjoy the privilege of being an Israeli and, the privilege, compared to the people in Gaza, but then they would never, in a lifetime, they would never agree to live under Hamas rule or, ISIS or the Islamic Republic, because they know that they're not going to live like that.
I know they're all even a lot of them are full of shit. So like a lot of times, like Gaza, when they bring up Gaza, what you guys did to Gaza, disgusting, horrible. You're genociders. I go, what do? We didn't go hard enough, in my opinion. And they look at me in complete shock, like you're an animal. And I go, who the hell are you lying to? I'm from your people. If I were to do this in any Arab country, if a group decides to attack an Arab country and kill 100 people, rape 50 people, kidnap 10 people, what would an Arab leader do to that enclave like Gaza? No, we would fight. What would an Arab leader, you push them on the truth, you just call out their bullshit, and they go, yeah, we'd erase it. I go, exactly. And when all of you are complaining about Ashkenazi, you guys are Europeans, you guys are white nationalists. I'm like, first of all, they're not. They're like the Palestinian, the fifth generation Palestinian in America who considers himself Palestinian. Apparently he's okay, but because Jews had the experience of being exiled from Israel, going to Europe and coming back, they lost that connection. So no, Ashkenazis are the same as Mizrahi, same as Sephardic, same as everybody, to put it clearly. But I'm like, you guys bitch at the Ashkenazis so much, and you don't understand that if it wasn't because of the Ashkenazis, you would have been fucking wiped out already. Like if my father was the prime minister of Israel from Syria, he already exposed what he would do. You want to know, he would have, I would start executing the prisoners that we have, 100 a day until the hostages come back, chop their head off in the goddamn public. I wouldn't spare a person. Like that's just our culture, mine included. I'm like, so you should count your blessings that it's Netanyahu, who you consider European and Ashkenaz, and at least he has some restraint on you people. There would be no restraint. None. It wouldn't exist. And he goes, you're right. And so I think by going on the other extreme at times and meeting them where they are and not treating them as this outlier or these weird people just because our culture or the Western culture doesn't match the way we do things in the Middle East, I think you just got to get more with the Middle East. Truthfully, I think, I've had this very interesting conversation with somebody who was very hostile in the beginning. One state for this, then he was two states. And I personally, I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this on your podcast. You ready for this?
Okay.
You're ready for the backlash? I said, I truly believe that the biggest hurdle for peace in Israel is Israel's desire to stick to exact Western democracy. Exact Western democracy does not fit in Israel, with all due respect. It does not fit. In
Israel or the Middle East?
In the Middle East. So like Israel is in the Middle East. It's not in a planet on its own. So if you really want to be a democratic state, which has immigration that's not prejudiced on any person's religion or whatever, you're going to be overrun in 3 seconds because all your neighbors are dictatorships, authoritarians, and all the populations believe in theological governments. You're going to be wiped out in a second if you allow immigration as a real state. And so then you have to be forced with this question of, well, what do I do with the West Bank? What do I do with these people? Because if I annex them, they're going to have children. Their children are going to vote out my prime minister. It's going to be an Arab state before we know it in 30 years, and we're done. No, it doesn't have to be an Arab state. And they don't have to get the right to vote for prime minister. What? That's not democratic. You're right. It's not. And if we went back at least to a hybrid system of a Jewish kingdom and a form of democracy that deals with everyday issues for the people who live, somewhat like England, or somewhat like British, I guess, if they want to call it, but a Jewish kingdom, a Jewish king that's holding the values and the Jewishness of the state, and getting rid of this bullshit, this idea that Israel could be a perfect Western democracy, I think you'll reach peace. because I think you'll be speaking the language of the people that live in the region. They don't have these crazy ass aspirations to like take over your thing. You annex the West Bank, you work on civil rights for the people who live there, the Arabs, the Jews, everybody that lives there. You do the same in Gaza, whether they like it or not. They're all under the Jewish kingdom. You want to fight, let's fight it out. But at the end of the day, we get it. You help them, you build schools, you allow them to elect their own governments in their own towns. Let's say in Bethlehem, I think Mordechai Kadar comes closest to my vision of this two-state doesn't work. It has to be like 9 states, right? Like you allow them to go. I don't know if you've ever been to Rajar in Israel. Is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You drive and it's all the way up in the north. It's a town full Alawi. It was closed for the longest time. It's a 100% Alawite town. There's a big poster right before you enter that town with all rules for the town. Every single rule that exists. No music, no loud music from your car. Girls don't wear shorts. All these crazy ass rules that work for the Alawites. And that's fine. That's their culture. I'm not here to change it, right?
Yeah.
It's all their rules. And people who are visiting Rajar has to respect it. And I went and I spoke to the people and they enjoy, and they have their own courts and they elect their own leaders to govern their own town issues. I asked them a question about criminal law, and I'm like, let me ask you, if somebody would commit a crime, would you send them to Israel, or is it something that that you guys take care of? They said no, Israel doesn't know how to properly dish out punishment. The crime is almost non-existent. Like he told me, if somebody steals, it's gonna be old school punishments. Like Israel's never going to know about it because this person can't go rat him out. Like his whole family lives within the Gaza. That's just God bless. If they overstep their bounds, if they try to do shit, I'm sure Israel can come in. And so envision a world where, let's say in Hebron, for instance, you want to elect, a small town in Hebron, everybody's living together. Have elections for the government. Who's going to be the governor of Hebron? Let the people vote. Anybody that lives in Hebron can vote for who the governor of Hebron is. What the bylaws of Hebron is. Somewhat like the U.S., like what's Nassau County versus Kings County, New York City, right? Segregate it in that way. Have it under a Jewish kingdom. Expel the idea that you can change the outlook of this country, make it a non-Jewish country in the future if you just overpopulate. No, it'll never change. The prime minister will always be Jewish. The king is Jewish and is a part of this lineage of Jewish family. And that's the way it is. Now, many Western democracies are going to be offended, but screw them. We're trying to coexist and co-live in the Middle East, not in the Western democracy. And so if you want to coexist with the people in the Middle East, who I truly believe are also very nice people and great people in some respects, I love spending time with the Arabs in Israel. I love it. I go to the old city in Jerusalem. I think you'd actually be able to coexist better if there was a Jewish kingdom instead of this pure Western democracy that they're trying to push.
That's very interesting. I
know it's an outlier opinion.
I've never heard that before. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Very outlier. I'm not just thoughts, this is how our people advance. We say crazy shit. Somebody records it, and then 3,000, and then 1,500 years later, somebody's gonna be like, "Did you see the Talmud? What they said about about democracy?" But this is how we do. We say crazy shit, and we try to work our way towards it. Is it a good idea? Is it a horrible idea? But we don't not say it out of fear that we're gonna be rejected for saying it. That's not the Jewish way.
Right. It's interesting. I know that Yosef Haddad, he always says we need to talk to them in their language. They don't understand the Western values or anything like that. They need to be spoken to in their own language. Not Arabic per se, but like their own, the way they behave, the way they think.
Yeah, but guess what? It's our language too. It's our language too. Our language is very close to their language. I just want to say, we've just been lost in the assimilation that we brought back with us to the land of Israel, with all due respect to everybody. Our language has been a language of strength. Open up the Tanakh. See how David HaMelech dealt with wars. See how David HaMelech dealt with enemies. See what it says in the Torah about achieving peace. Like, that's our language as well. We've been kingdoms. We haven't been this Western ideology. Like, beautiful. Like I'm not saying anything's wrong with the Western world or Western values, but that's the Western world. That's not the Middle East. And if you want to exist in the Middle East, then stop trying to defend that Israel carries Western values and is the most Western valued country in the Middle East. It's just stupid. It's oxymoronic. It's not Western. It's in the Middle East. Be Middle Eastern.
No, that's true. I saw like non-related to all this stuff, but similar. I saw a documentary about Zohar Gov, and one of the guys that produces his music and stuff, Avner Gadassi, he said that initially when Zohar Gov came out as a singer and started performing, people were like, "What is this? Like, this is not American. This is not European like we're used to." So it was hard for them to accept him. But then eventually he released one song and then it exploded. But I guess it's similar, you know. It was very,
yeah.
very
No, it is. I mean, it's going to take time, but I really think we need to start looking at ourselves not from a lens of how do we defend ourselves as Westerners, but from a lens of how do we defend ourselves as a Jewish state, a unique Jewish state. A Jewish state is not Western democracy only. Sure, we have Jewish values that translate perfectly and fit neatly within Western values, but that's not a Jewish state. Like a Jewish state is a Jewish state. We can have our own identity. We can come up with our own form of government. We don't have to copy anybody in the world. We can use who we are, where we are, import the values that matter to us. For instance, not hanging LGBTQ people and giving LGBTQ people rights. That's an issue that matters to us. Right. Then fine. Like that's a value we import. That's a value we bring into it, right? Like no problem. But like women's rights, for instance, I would never want to see Israel go back to the time of like stoning adultery of woman, a woman that commits adultery, right? Like I'm not pushing for that. There has been an evolution of our morality and our values of respecting people and their diversity, whether they're gay, whether they're straight, whether they're this, whether they're that. Women, men, we're all the same, and so those values have translated to Western values. They're also integral to Jewish values. So we can bring them into our Jewish state. But when we talk about forms of government, when we talk about how to handle conflicts, I think we need to go back more to who we are as a Jewish people and truly form a type of government that is for the Jewish people, for the Jewish state.
Yeah.
And any other work is just lazy. To just say we're Western, we're adopting Western government formation is lazy work.
That's interesting. You should go to the Knesset and do a whole thing about it.
Yeah, they'd kick me.
I think some of them will probably cheer for you, but we'll see. When was the last time you were there in Israel?
So I was actually in the Knesset. I was making a joke. They're really nice people. I was in Israel with my family this summer. I took my daughter for her bat mitzvah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we wanted, instead of having a party and wasting money, I tried to pride myself on raising children who don't chase material. And so I gave her the decision. I'm like, Jill, what do you want to do? Do you want to have a party or do you want to go on a family vacation? Right? It's not like she's reading from the Torah anyway. We don't do that. So do you want to have a party or do you want to have a vacation? She's like, I'd rather a party. Stupid, Dad. It's 4 hours. Or do I go on a multi-week vacation? Multi-week vacation with the family. And so I took her to Italy and then we went to Israel. It was amazing. I love it. I love Israel. We went to the Knesset. She was in the Knesset. We saw the declaration.
Oh, nice. Oh.
We saw the declaration.
Was that the first time in Israel, your kids?
No, they've been there before.
Okay.
They've been there before.
What do they like about? What's like their favorite thing about Israel?
The beach. I let them surf for the first time.
Oh, really?
And I'm not the skinniest or fittest person in the world. And I decided, I'm like, guys, I'm going to go surfing with you. And my wife looked at me. Like, okay. So we went surfing, all of us. Mm-hmm. My shoulder still hurts. I don't know what I did to myself. It's like 5 months later.
Oh my God.
I'm still in pain. I'm like cursing the day I surfed, but it was so much fun. They love the beach. They love the Kotel. They love Jerusalem. I love taking them to different like historical sites. We toured the city of David, which was unbelievable.
Oh, nice.
To see the tunnels, and then I took them to Shiloh. in the Shomron.
Interesting. How'd you get in there?
One Israel Fund, amazing people, the nicest people in the world. Yehuda Hanigman hooked it up. I gave him a call. I'm like, Yehuda, I need to go to what they call the West Bank. I'm like, I need to go to our home. And so I went to Shiloh in the Shomron, and I learned so much. I mean, my kids, I don't know how much they could have appreciated. They appreciated a lot of it. My daughter really understood. The younger ones were like, wow, there's so much space. Let's run around everywhere. But me seeing the inscription in a stone of the upside down bull, because this is where Shevet Yosef lived. And Shevet Menashe lived in this area. And to honor their father, Joseph, one of the tribes, the mark of him was the bull. They carved the bull from the stone, from like a huge stone, and it's still there under rubble, and it's amazing. You see where the Mishkan was, how our people left the desert, came into this place called Shiloh. They put the most important structure in Jewish law, where Hannah went and prayed for her child. Literally, our entire prayers as Jews are modeled after this one woman named Hannah who prayed for her child. That's how we wrote our prayers. So we were able to see exactly where she was standing next to the Mishkan, where she prayed for her child, who turned out to be Prophet Samuel, right? And so it was so amazing to see that history and see how real it was, and to see the caves where the Jews kind of carved out. I don't know if you've ever been there. I highly recommend it.
I've not gone to the Shomron.
No, you have to go.
So I can tell you that obviously I lived in Israel most of my life. I was born there, grew up there, and all this stuff. I haven't been to Jerusalem in years because I'm still traumatized from the Intifada era.
I get that.
So to me, it's like, I don't know, but this time I'm going, this summer I'm going with my daughter. I mean, I've gone with her every other year. We go in to visit my family. But this time I was like, I'm going to have to go to Jerusalem. I have to take her to Jerusalem. I want her to see all the old places and the Kotel and everything else. So that's my mission, to go to Jerusalem.
Yeah, you should. Listen, I know, I can't blame you. I get trauma, so I'm not going to push back on that, whatever you're comfortable with. But like, really, you should. The Shomron wasn't dangerous. It really wasn't. I took my baby there. Like, we took I hired a good driver. I didn't take my own car. I could have, but I don't want to get lost in the Shomron. That would have been stupid. So I took a driver. He was he just left Gaza. He's a military IDF man. So like I felt safe in the car with him. He drove us to the site in Shiloh. It's a huge site run by Jews, security everywhere. There's red cows there that they brought from Texas that we were able to see.
Oh.
Unbelievable. And like, there's crazy stuff, right? And you see all these things. And like, one thing that was really cool was clay. Our people back in the day, when we used to go and visit the Mishkan 3 times a year, Sukkot, Passover, and Passover, and oh my God, Rosh Hashanah. No, I'm wrong. Okay, whatever.
Maybe
but the most important Pesach, Korban Pesach is what I want to talk about, because so they used to go for Passover, and we used to do Korban Pesach, and that is where the animal gets sacrificed, and you eat. You have to eat from the Korban, so you eat in a festivity to celebrate Passover. But because of the way the animal was sacrificed, and because it was a Korban Pesach, any utensil that you use, the holiness of that transfers to the items, so they can't be reused for something else in the future. And you can only eat from this korban from a space where you can visually view the Mishkan. And this is one of the ways they found out where it was, because from the areas that you can visually view this Mishkan, what they found were shrapnel, a ton of clay pottery that our people broke, which was the tradition after they ate the Korban Pesach. Thousands of pieces of clay pottery there. There's houses, like little cave houses and with like little exits from the time of the Romans, when the Romans occupied, and they have little hatch exits throughout it was amazing, and they have delicious wineries if you like to get drunk like myself. Highly recommend it.
Okay. I know some people who would love that, so I'll send them there. What was like, aside from that, what was your favorite place in Israel that you ever visited? Like your go-to
Yeah,
place that every time you go there, just you have to be there.
for me, it's really Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
But one place that I love and it's becoming my go-to place now, and nobody's gonna understand it, and people are gonna be like, "There's really nothing to do there. Zero. It's Rajar with the Alawites, because they're Syrian Alawites, right? Like that's what they consider themselves.
Where is it exactly?
It's up north in the Golan, and they have the
Oh.
coolest history. They consider themselves Syrian,
Hmm.
and during the 67-day war, nobody claimed that town. Like just everybody left. Israel
Oh.
left, Syria left, Lebanon left. And so if you know the history of Syria and Lebanon, they both fought each other, right? Syria attacked Lebanon, believing that Lebanon shouldn't exist as a state because it's all Blad al-Sham, the Levant, like what they call Palestine, was called the cities of Syria, Blad al-Sham. So this town was just the Syrians left, the Syrian army left, the Lebanese government left, the Israeli government pulled out of it. So this little small enclave called Rajar existed with the Alawite population who were originally Syrian. The UN came and the UN put the Hasbani River. They marked the Hasbani River, the blue line, as part of Lebanon. And they said that Rajar was Lebanese. The people there said, we're not Lebanese, we're freaking Syrian. We're Syrians, we're not Lebanese. They went over. Lebanon said, we don't want to take this land. Why doesn't Lebanon want to take Rajar? Because they don't want to have another war with Syria. They don't want Syria to now think that Lebanon is coming taking Syrian land, even if the UN designated Rajar as Lebanese, right? Yeah. And so they didn't want that beef with Syria. And so Syria didn't take it, nobody took it. The people were surviving on their own. Eventually, their food storage ran out and they needed to eat. So their first choice was try to get to Syria. Syria, border closed. Then they tried to walk over to Lebanon because it was right there. It was right over the Hasbani River. They tried to walk in. The Lebanese troops, the guy, I didn't research this. One of the locals told me the full story, by the way. But I did some research after, but like I'm not like somebody told me there. They try to walk into Lebanon to get the food. The soldier at the border said, take one more step, we'll shoot you dead. You're not allowed to enter Lebanon. We do not recognize you as part of Lebanon. They had no choice but to actually ask Israel to annex it. And Israel annexed it. It's very complicated history, but I love it because the people there are beautiful, nicest people. They have a place called Hashalom Park, Park of Peace.
And you'll see, I think I've heard about that one.
Yeah, you'll see like the sword of Ali, which is like a Muslim sword, the Virgin Mary, a menorah. Like you'll see all these things. You see real unity, and they have restaurants that serve authentic Syrian food. Oh. And I'm Syrian, and so like I went to the restaurant. I felt like a king. It was like amazing. They had Kultun playing in the background. I was eating the salads. I couldn't eat meat, unfortunately, but I was eating the salads. It was the most amazing experience, and it's definitely a place I'm going to revisit over and over and over again every time I'm in Israel.
Interesting. I'll keep that one in mind because I have family in the Golan Heights, and I've been there as a kid. We used to go visit them a lot, but we've never been into that area, so that would be interesting. Okay,
it's fun.
Yeah. So last question before we go. Given the current climate and all these new younger generation of like social media activists, Jewish activists online and everything, what is your hope for them and for us as a Jewish people? What do you see in them that gives you hope for our people?
My hope is we can finally be united in a non-superficial way, meaning understanding that we all have unique experiences. We all have unique perspectives, and that my perspective isn't going to completely endanger the state of Israel, and your perspective isn't either. My hope is true unity through arguments, through division, right? Like not to suppress people's opinions, not to suppress mine or your thoughts, but to see them as just a thought, right? Just a statement, just an opinion that you may disagree with. And if you so strongly disagree with, then challenge my thought, challenge my opinion. See me as your brother. Don't see me as an enemy. Don't see me as an other. And it's something I'm working on myself. This is a work in progress. I mean, I'm guilty at times as well, right? But that's my hope, is to see that unity be created. And what gives me hope is actually seeing a lot of progress happening on that front. Me uniting with people that I would have never in a million years before October 7th even spoken to. I would have cursed them out and told them to go back to hell, right? Like, I would have just went insane on them. Like, especially the left. I'll be honest, the left in Israel, not in America, because I think I would be left in America. Left in Israel. I never understood them. It was just like crazy to me, especially for October 7th, seeing protests, seeing this. I'm like, people are fucking disgusting. You don't know what we're facing here in America. All these people are calling you, telling you, go back to Europe, go back to Europe, go back to Europe. And you guys are on the street fighting each other, saying what, and who made up at that time? And this is, I'm guilty. I'm talking about a bad thing, a bad thought, a bad ideology that I have, that I evolved out of. I was like, I'm looking at the streets of Israel and seeing all these people protesting against the government, protesting against the state, protesting it for a two-state solution, protesting for more Palestinian rights, more this, and they're all European. I'm like, you fucking idiots. If you guys came to America, you're the ones that the Palestinians are telling you don't belong. Not me. They're fine with me. They're like, they not really fine with me, but like, I'm less of an issue than you are. And you're fighting for them while they're targeting you. You're just stupid. Go. You know what? Go back to Europe. You know what? Go. Get the hell out. You don't want Israel. You want Palestine. Get the fuck out. Get out. If you truly don't like it, and you get angry, and it's normal. But after October 7th, I grew from that, and I evolved from that. And I said, okay, wait. I think we all woke up to, we can't fight each other. Yeah. We can't utilize these people's attacks on us as our weapon now in the fight against our brother. And
you still have those fringe people that,
look, anti-Zionists need to be like the Bernie Sanders Jews of the world. They're assholes. I mean, they're stupid. They're morons. They're yes, that's not my brother. That's somebody that's selling us out, right? Like, but if somebody, look, me and Shai Davidai, for instance, I can tell you we're probably ideologically different on almost every not every, I'm not going to say that. I think we agree on a lot, but we also disagree on a lot of main friction points. I love him. I truly do. He's one of my favorite guys on the internet because it gives me a different, I started looking at it from a way of appreciation. It's like, I appreciate what you're bringing to the conversation. I disagree a lot. Yeah. But I don't see you as an enemy. I see you as my brother. I love you. I want to go hang out. When I was in Israel, him and his, he came with his kid. I brought my kids. We walked through the old city of Jerusalem together. I'd say pre-October 7th, that would have never happened. I would have been like, look at this fucking freak. He wants to get Aaron Bryan. Get the fuck out of my face. Like, I would have been crazy on him. Like, my true Arab would have come out against him. But after October 7th, I'm like, this is stupid. He can have that opinion. And I understand, and we can have a conversation, and we can debate the issue, and he's just as like, and I'm not going to utilize the people's attacks on our people for my benefit in an argument. And he taught me a lot of things I didn't know. I hope I taught him or inspired some things he didn't know. And I think I grew from that relationship. I hope he grew from that relationship. We're still great friends. And that one relationship, that one friendship, I've said since the beginning of our relationship, is what truly gives me hope that we're getting closer to being united as a people with different opinions and different thoughts and different, identity beliefs, ideological beliefs. But the most important thing, we're starting to see each other as human beings. We're starting to see each other as brothers and sisters. And we're starting to move as a family. A family doesn't always agree on everything. I don't know. We're all Jewish. Name me one Shabbat table where there isn't a argument over an important issue.
Even that's close family.
Yeah. And I think that's what changed for me. That's what gives me hope. And the idea that people woke up to that and are waking up to that more and more and connecting more and more with each other. that's the biggest hope for me. That gives me the biggest happiness, because a united Am Yisrael, a united Jewish people, the Ashkenazis, the Mizrahis, the Sephardics, the Ethiopians, Beta Israel, everybody united together as a front, we're undefeated. Nobody can do shit to us. I mean, look at the Tanakh. I started studying it every Monday night because it's our history. It literally documents our history in the land. Whenever we ate crap, we were divided. Whenever we succeeded, whenever we had a great moment in history, we were united. And so
it's true.
Hope has to come from unity.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, it's sad to say it, but prior to October 7 in Israel, the country was divided.
Yeah.
It was very divided. And then it happened. And then it united everybody afterwards.
Yeah,
which is
here
sad
too.
that we need to have a tragedy for us to be like that. But
this is always, unfortunately, it says history repeats itself. This is a pattern for our people, unfortunately. I didn't realize it was a pattern until I started learning. It is. It's amazing. We realize, like, and you'll read the Tanakh and you'll be like, wait, are we in 2025 right now? Right? Like, a group attacks the Jews, and then they start splitting over, and they split between who's on David's side and who's on Saul's side. And because of that, the Philistines were able to come and screw this side up. And I'm like, okay.
Like, yeah, I mean, hopefully we can learn one day.
Listen, and the division here too, it runs deep, even in America, like between all different denominations and different this and different that, and we need to unite. We don't need to be best friends with each other. We don't need to, agree with people who make disagreeable subjects. But we need to unite around everybody that's pro-Israel. If you're pro-Israel, you're good enough for me, right? Everything else is, we can negotiate, we can talk, we can disagree in a way of family and love. If you're anti-Israel, and if you call yourself a Jew, and you're going to stand against your people against Israel, who's being utilized to attack your people all over the world, you do not have a seat at the table. I would kick you out of my family. I would. If one of my kids was fighting against the family unit, fighting against the core of the family unit in a way that is hurting his brothers and sisters and everyone around them, you kick that kid out. You don't destroy everything. And so Bernie Sanders, I don't even look at as a Jew. You don't get. You're right. I don't get to decide. Only B'nai Olam gets to decide. But I get to decide who I see as a Jew. Yeah. That's my decision, and I don't see him as a Jew. I treat him with the same malice the people he supports treat him. I have no interest in having complex, conversations with the guy, because we don't even agree on the basics. We don't even agree that. But for instance, somebody that's there are Reform synagogues here. That I disagree with a ton. But I don't hate that. I don't want them to go out of business. I don't want the rabbi but there's nothing wrong with saying I disagree with A, B, C, but I understand that this synagogue still likes Israel, still appreciates, believes in a Jewish state. So I'm not going to go out of my way to shit on and highlight our differences. I may talk about our differences. I'll approach a conversation. But there's still a sort of unity there, understanding we're still all in the family and we all have different opinions. But those who have gone to the side of anti-Zionist Jews, people call them self-hating. I don't think they're self-hating. I think they're self-loving, but in a very ignorant way. I think they do that because they're selfish. They want their careers. They want their money. They want their friends to continue sitting with them and loving them and making them prosperous. And they foolishly believe that by abandoning your identity that is being attacked, abandoning who you are, people will accept you. People will include you in their circles. You can keep your friends. Your career can prosper as it was before. And that's why they're doing it. And so when people call them self-hating, no, they're self-loving Jews to the point of selfishly abandoning and hating their identity, not themselves.
Yeah, at the end of the day, a Jew is a Jew, and if somebody decides to wipe all of us out, they're going to be included in it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so everything has an expiration date.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Abraham, thank you so much. It's been
Thank
a
you.
great conversation.
Great convo.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
And
it.
thanks all for listening. Until next time.